We welcome Jim back to the channel, and he's bringing his Elves of Solarian to battle against Chris in a attack against Chris's territories. Jim, 3,000 points. What'd you bring, sir?
I got a level 4 spellcaster. His name is Tenebris. Let's start on the left, sorry. We've got 2 elf chariots. We've got elf warriors with a champion. We've got elven archers behind them. We've got our spellcaster, like I said. We've got 2 sets of 5 elf cavalry, this one disguised as humans.
Cleverly disguised, very elvish.
Never figure it out. Elvish spearmen, more elf archers, this time with a champion and the golden string bow. And then 3 spiders, giant spiders, and then 10 elf rangers.
All right, altogether 3,000 points. Jim is also going to be able to select 1 unit for household troops, and we'll cover that on deployment. Chris has clearly brought a much bigger army to defend his homeland. Chris, 3,000 points. A little less, actually, because you're iron deficient.
That's right.
What'd you bring, sir?
Okay, everything in the kitchen sink.
Yeah.
So we'll start off over here. Let's start off with the front units. I've got 3 different spellcasters because I have 3 different cities. So I'm going to have my human mage, my goblin mage, and then my dwarf mage over on the left. And those will all be level 2s. Since I don't have any towers, that's as good as I can get for casting spells. I do have a dwarven captain right there with the flag in the front. Over on the left, I've got 2 human champions. That one champion will look like the rest of his unit. I actually had enough points to bring the Boots of Striding on him. So his unit, if need be, will be nimble, and we'll see if that even comes into play.
Amazing.
And on the far left, I have got a human champion on cavalry.
Oh. Yes.
Yes.
Now on the far left.
Now on the farthest of lefts. Oh, that left. All right. So I have 3 units of Skaven archers at 5 units apiece. They will be at shoot 0, but roll enough dice and we'll see if something happens. So they're there. Let's just talk about the 4 units of goblin soldiers I have in the front. I have brought 20 goblin soldiers, but they're all going to be in units of 5. It's because I don't want them panicking. I want them dying before they get there.
They're good for that.
They're good for that.
We will
Please
try to oblige.
Yeah, don't tell them. I make that joke every time. All right, on the far left.
Morale minus 30.
Yeah, they panic before the battle starts. I have got human rangers at 5. And then behind them I got, as always, human heavy cavalry. I am running 9 of them in 2 separate units. That champion on cavalry that is painted just like them might just fit into that squad. Then on the right, starting in the far back, I have 19 human line breakers. This is my skirmishing force. And then in front of them, I've got 3 units of dwarven soldiers that will hopefully protect these 20 line breakers until they can be useful. So a lot of generic dwarves in this list. And then straight behind them, I've got 2 units of 15 dwarven archers. Being on defense, I kind of went heavy on the guys who can't move too much for this one. Hope we don't play the road.
Okay. And then in front of the dwarven archers?
Oh, I mentioned the 3 units of dwarven soldiers.
Oh, I'm sorry. They're all dwarven soldiers. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry they look so different. I didn't buy this many of the same model.
Psh.
And those Skavens are actually goblin archers too.
Send your complaints on $20 bills to the Work Org YouTube channel. All right, so we are all set. We're going to get deployed for this short form battle report coming to you next. So as the defender, Chris has set up the terrain and he has placed out 6 different areas of woods throughout the table. You can see them there. That allows Jim to pick the side, and since it is symmetrical, Jim just went the side closest with his troops. Now the mission for tonight is chance engagement. Both sides will start with 3 units on the board. Jim's objective as the attacker is to get 4 units of at least 5 guys across the board within 12 inches of Chris's deployment zone. If he does that, he wins the game, if he does that at the end of a turn. Additionally, this is a 10 turn game as opposed to the normal 8. Now each turn, both players are going to be able to try to bring on 3 units of reserves. Chris has gone with a very skewed list with, what do you have, like 85 activations?
86.
So he may or may not get them all on. Jim has most of his forces on the board as it is with the elves. So we'll see
That's
about
2,000
him.
points right there.
So, Jim, let's go over your deployment first, starting on your right.
So I have the household troop Elven Cavalry. So they'll have a +1 on morale checks. The Elven Rangers, already with a foot in the forest, so to speak. And then the other group of Elven Cavalry.
All right, now you have a level 4 mage, and he also has spell focus. So what has he brought for his 4 spells?
He's brought Earthlines, Pathfinder, Glamour, and Dispel.
Okay.
Okay.
Chris, let's go over your deployment, sir.
Okay, so I took my archers and I put them on the table.
But not your goblin skaven archers.
Oh, well, it's only 5 points. Anyway, we'll hopefully get to them. We'll see. And there'll be like a last-ditch effort at the end of the game. So just 2 of the 15-man Dwarven archer units here. I also started in the forest, so this could be shooting, I don't know if turn 1, but maybe turn 2 at least. We'll see. And then over here, I have a human mage. So my human mage knows fireball and mud.
Mud.
Put mud on the ground.
All right, and then as far as your other 2 mages off board.
So my goblin mage is going to not know any goblin spells. Going to know fireball and fleetfoot.
Okay.
Rabble. Dwarven mage is also going to know fireball. Yes, they can all throw fireballs, but I'm going to go for crows.
Smart play.
This one.
All right. So with that, gentlemen, I think we're ready to begin. Let's do the ceremonial handshake.
Good luck.
Good luck, sir.
Yes.
And let's do the ceremonial roll for initiative, which is not actually ceremonial. This is for realsies.
Oh, man.
Jim has rolled a 10-3,
he's gonna
beats
start.
the 9-8. Now, we will be using the winter rules from the Wrath of Time. What's the latest supplement?
The stone heart.
Yeah, the March of Time.
Expansion of magic.
Yes, for
It's a long title.
the events table.
Bane of Kings?
Bane of Kings. There
Is
we
it?
go.
Okay, yeah.
So if it comes up, then we'll be using it out of that book because that's the wintry, and we are in the winter campaign. So here we go.
Okay.
Round 1 is over. Both sides have managed to bring in their reinforcements. No issues there. Jim, what have you done this round?
On the right, we've advanced the cavalry, household troop cavalry. I'll let Chris talk about that. In the center, we advanced the rangers. On the left, we advanced the other unit of cavalry. We then brought on from the right the elven warriors, the level 4 spellcaster who failed in his spell, but we're past it, and the chariot.
What did he try to cast? Just so
He
people know.
tried to cast Pathfinder on the cavalry in front of him.
4 dice need a 7. He came up a little short.
Maybe it was on the cavalry. I don't have to disclose that.
They were supposed to hold still.
I do not have to disclose that.
Chris, I see you guys have moved forward a little bit. What's going on over there?
All right, so I have deployed 3 units on the board. I brought in my Dwarven commander unit, and they marched forward. I have then moved the human mage straight behind them, and the human mage casted mud. Got mud off, so there's a nice piece of mud in between those trees over there.
Boo.
Slow things down just a little bit. I brought the Dwarven mage on as well, who cast crows, and crows was cast on this archer unit that is currently up here. I moved this archer unit as far forward as they can go in the woods. I also moved this archer unit as far forward as they can go outside of the woods. And I brought a cavalry unit in over here because he brought a chariot in over there, and there needs to be a little bit of contest on that lane.
So now, just ask, mud, what does that go off on?
7.
So your level 2 human mage was able to cast a level 7 spell without
Yeah.
issue.
Well, 7's not that hard to get.
Okay. All right, let's
I disagree.
let's go ahead and roll for initiative, gents, for turn number 2. Jim has rolled a 10-6.
10-6. 4-5.
5-4. So Jim's going to retain the initiative for turn 2. We are at the end of turn 2. I think, again, both sides brought in all the units they tried to bring on. Jim, let's start over here. You had the initiative. What'd you do?
On the right, the cavalry advanced through the mud, slowed them down, but they still kept going. The spiders successfully joined the battle. Archers successfully joined with the champion, and then the warriors moved forward with their champion. The rangers ate up a lot of his arrow supply.
They also did a little bit of shooting.
Yeah, they hit a few dwarves, but it was a pretty rough exchange for them, and they are currently shaken. The other elven archers came on just to take their place when they die.
I mean, you say they, but in reality, it's just him.
I feel like he represents 10 people at least. The spellcaster did get off nimble on the cavalry, which then, once nimble, advanced into the forest, or the wooded area. And then the chariot advanced full speed ahead on the left.
Okay, Chris, over on your side. So.
Okay, starting from my left, I got to bring, he advances cavalry, so I had to bring on my my heavy linebreakers up here with the champion in front, and they just move forward. Over here, I moved the dwarven soldier unit forward because it creates this interesting choke point where if he tries to flank me, I got to flank on him, and so it's kind of a offsetting thing going on. Then I've got the caster, which casted fireball, got lucky, and took out I think 3 rangers on a fireball, so very good roll. The dwarven mage also got lucky and got fireball off and killed 2 of the rangers with a fireball. I got to move this archer unit forward, and I think I killed 4 rangers with arrows.
Rather redundant.
Yeah, the rolls have gone well for me on round 1 and 2.
Well, let's keep it up.
Yeah, I know. So these archers shot, and then still, again, theme, I got a 10, so I had to take out one of those cavalry as they have come into the woods. And then I figured, if I'm going to lose some archers, I would pivot and face my doom head on. And if he does charge, I kind of like the way those cavalry are going to be facing with the rest of the units here. I did bring on this heavy cavalry unit, and they did move forward to kind of pose as a counter against this unit that is being so rude. I have brought in a goblin mage, which theme got the spell off, got Fleetfoot, and was able to cast it here. So this cavalry is really fast. This cavalry ran forward and is posing as a threat to the chariot and possibly even the elven cavalry.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, with that, let's go ahead and roll for initiative. This one's a big one this time.
Indeed it is.
Oh boy.
Jim has rolled a
7-2.
Very beatable.
And I'm looking at 9-3.
All right,
And
so
it
we'll
got
come
beat.
back after turn 3, see where the board is at that point. We are in turn 3 of what is a very interesting game of Oathmark. So, Jim, let's start with your side.
So on my right, my cavalry charged his dwarves, only to discover that they are rather stout. More or less even exchange.
5 dwarves to 2 cavalry.
Probably, yeah. Feels even point-wise. The spiders failed their activation, so we're only able to move 5 warriors and archers with champion moved onto the scene, pivoted and moved towards the middle. Other archers fired at those dwarves, and I believe took out 2, maybe?
Yeah, pretty good volley. The dwarves having the help of being in the woods.
Yeah, and that was pre-charge, which I'll talk about in a moment. Spearman came on. Spellcaster continued to not impress, failing a glamour spell. Chariot was successfully activated and came on. Other chariot just repositioned to create a mess of potential charges next round. And then, as the very last activation, having no better options, the cavalry charged these archers and did some damage and shook them.
6 is not some damage. 6 is a lot of damage.
It's still, yeah, okay.
Jim taking advantage of an activation advantage, really, since
Yeah.
Chris had to go first. It was Chris was in a good position to do some damage to Chris's cavalry. He just couldn't get Jim to pull the trigger. So, Chris, what have you done?
Okay, so from left to right, I have moved up my heavy line breakers here as far as I could with the cavalry turning and charging my face here. So they, in order for them to play, they need to take a turn to run forward. This unit got attacked, so that's what they did.
Oh, the 10 on the morale, though, so that was
Yes,
pretty
they did. I know. I was very lucky. I've got the human spellcaster here who got a nice firewall off on the last Pathfinder over there. The Dwarven Mage cast Crows on this unit of linebreakers over here. Wasn't quite sure if I would expose the units and get shot. I would like to at least get 1 turn at full ranks. We'll see. So, cast Crows up here. These units actually shot at the approaching warriors. Managed to take 2 of them out, needing 6s on their rolls. This unit here is where I started the round. So this is the controversial move. Rather than charge any units, I actually shot a volley into the Elven Cavalry, did not hit, and then I wheeled in the way to make it difficult for him to hit this archer unit that already has a spell, and also kind of to wheel from his position as well.
Really not difficult, but nay impossible, sir.
Yes, the impossible is quite difficult. So,
Some might say it's difficult to become.
yeah. I did bring in units in the back. I had 2 Dwarven soldier units to bring in, as well as a human ranger cavalry unit. This goblin mage has been doing fantastic and got to cast Fleetfoot on the other cavalry unit right here. The cavalry unit was the last on mine to go, but after those elven cavalry, so no targets yet. I just kind of wheeled and moved them forward in a position where hopefully they can be effective. And this cavalry didn't exactly like leaving its face exposed. If I charged that chariot, he might just wheel around and hit me in the back. So that was a difficult position. I chose defensive and just kind of spun around so I couldn't be hit on the sides. And then I think that about sums up everything.
All right. So, Jim, I'm reminded of the Simpsons episode where Lisa helps design a doll to compete with Malibu Stacy. And she only got to sell one of them, but she said if she changed the mind of one little girl, it would be worth it. To which the guy who made the doll said, maybe if that doll cost $1 million, that would be correct. Maybe if those dwarf soldiers cost 25 points each, it would be even exchange. They do not, sir. Let's go ahead and roll for initiative for turn 4.
Fair enough.
2 8.
6-3, you got it.
Elves have initiative. We'll come back after turn number 4.
What to do with it?
All right, we're at the end of turn 4, which is also the end of the game. Yes, it normally goes 10 turns, but not tonight. Jim, let's see what we did in turn 4.
Died a lot. So cavalry, well, that's him. They didn't move, so I won't talk about that.
Okay.
Archers moved forward and shot up those guys a little bit.
They killed a guy.
Spearmen moved forward. Warriors moved forward. Spellcaster continued to do nothing. We did have a chariot charge up there. You're wondering where the chariot is now. He's no longer with us.
That's not it.
And then this chariot advanced. That's basically all I can talk about.
Okay, real interesting though. So this unit started out as shaken. Your cavalry was facing them. You won the initiative. Your very first move was to use these guys.
To try to rout.
Yes. You
Yeah.
managed to take 2 of them. Chris managed to make morale thanks to remembering his Oathmarks, which is a special rule for the campaign. And then in the next 2 turns, Chris destroyed both your cavalry units. You tried to make a go from it there, but let's let Chris talk. I thought that was an interesting move here.
Yeah.
A bold move. I don't think it was a bad move. It just didn't turn out.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Chris?
I do want to comment. I think that move, the more I think about it, the more I think it was a good move. I think there was a good position the cavalry were waiting in over here, and a cascading panic, especially needing morale of 5s and no, here's my commander way over here, that would literally, if I had 1 or 2 of those cavalry just get shaken out of nowhere, I think you really could have just hit them and did a lot of damage, maybe even out of them. And then it would be a different story over here. So I didn't see that movie.
So you guys want to replay it?
No.
From there. Okay.
I didn't see it, but when it was happening, I started being more afraid than I initially
Wait a second,
was.
what could happen?
Yeah, wait, whoa.
I lost 2 guys? What do I need to roll out?
No, please kill 5. So, but yeah, there were just threats all over the board, and while Jim was pursuing the route, I was able to hit the cavalry on the sides with flank attacks, and I did present my side for a charge over here, but his chariot failed to roll very well, and only took out 1 model on the side, but it was positioned in such a way that the next cavalry could come up and take that hit.
Which you had set up last turn, essentially?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I wasn't going to be able to hit you without dying myself. And so the rest of the units kind of moved up. My mage is still... I failed to cast 1 spell all game over here.
Jim cast 1 spell all game, so amazing. All right, so if it's cool, we'll do a little wrap-up together, and then we'll do our next campaign turn.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Wow, what a game. So, Jim, attacker, you've been doing well in the campaign lately. Chris, the defender.
I did well here.
You did well here, absolutely. You've been doing well in the campaign as well. I've been taking the shorts a little bit, but let's talk about this battle here. First, Chris, I want to hear about your very skewed list of multiple activations, and probably one scenario where that was not a good one.
No, the goblins came in randomly, like, what's going on? So
we're still eating breakfast. Talk to us at noon.
Yes. So I brought in all these individual goblin units to be a screening force, but in a scenario where we're only bringing in 3 units a turn, at best, they gotta pass their morale rolls. It pressures you to bring in the more advantageous units to you and not waste them on your little 50-point goblin unit that's not supposed to do anything, but slow the opponent down and get in the way.
Especially when the attacker can win at any time by having 4 units across the board.
Yes.
You want to have somebody with a little staying power.
Yeah, I would prefer not to set up a line of bowling pins for the chariot to take 5 of them out every round. So it was a situation, where I tried to really flesh out my list really wide with activations. Just trying to find a use for the goblin city that I took. And there was just no way to use it in this scenario.
Interesting list concept, but it is nice to see that the scenarios continue to balance the list building in some ways.
Yeah.
This is one of those ways.
Like how Wind and Rain makes it so you can't go all archers or you'll just lose that scenario.
I think it actually advantages them now.
Does
Having
it?
played it so much.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that they shoot really well at the beginning of the game, and then the attacker never really gets to them.
Yeah. Okay.
So Jim, you came in and you had learned a lesson before, but it's been a while because of life that you've played this game, especially this scenario. What was that?
So the lesson I learned before and then obviously forgot was it probably makes a lot more sense to bring my slower moving units out first in this scenario than to bring the cavalry out late so that the cavalry will actually have some support when they meet the enemy. But this time I forgot about that until the middle of the game, and this scenario, my cavalry was all the way up front and had no support.
Yeah, and Chris was able to maneuver his cavalry to take advantage of the fact that you had no support because he just had a lot more units on his side of the board since he didn't have to trek across. So I think that is a lesson that we learned through experience. Sometimes having those fast units lead off on this particular scenario, I think it briefs well, but in practice it's a little problematic. So with that, Chris, we didn't show dice rolls this game, but I would say yours were exceptional.
It's got to be top 3 on the channel. I'm sorry you guys couldn't have seen it. We'll just do some instant replays.
And just
put them on 10s. It was incredible. I didn't fail any activations for the entire game up until the last round. I didn't fail any spell casts for the entire game up until the last round. I was getting charged by cavalry and coming out on top on the exchange. It was
one of those games.
It was one of those games.
And then Jim, your rolling was not great.
Yeah, it was a little weaker than normal. So
especially when you needed it.
That's correct. There were a couple times where Glamour could have potentially changed things a little bit, certainly given me a better chance, and it did not work out.
Yeah.
Of course, that's obviously a tough spell to cast.
But when it goes off, it's really, really good.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, that was a quicker battle report. Sometimes that happens in Oathmark. It can just kind of snowball on one player, and that's kind of what we saw tonight. I think that's probably especially true of the Elves, just because it is a smaller force.
Yeah.
Once they start losing activations and units, and an mission where you have to get 4 units across the board becomes very difficult. You didn't bring any of the halflings this time.
Yep.
Low legs.
And I left the ballista out, which I still am kind of glad. I think it would have been interesting to see what this second group of cavalry would have done if I had, like I said,
different.
If I'd sent the infantry forward first. So.
I missed the ballista. What do you think?
I think ballista probably would have been good.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been forced to probably bring at least one smoke or two, and try to drop something in front of the ballista. So, because it doesn't have that indirect fire, right? Like,
It does not.
Right.
yeah. So I would have had to change spells a little bit. I did get to bring mud for the first time, probably seen on this channel, the casting of a mud spell.
No, Adam. You remember Adam?
Yeah.
He actually beat me by using. No, he almost beat me by using mud on a game on the channel before we started any of our campaigns.
That was a while ago.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah. A little underwhelming. I was hoping Cavalry would have to like roll, you're elves anyway. But I was hoping Cavalry would make morale tests going into mud or something. But mud might mess with the chariots. Mud just kind of my cavalry is going to move 8 instead of 12 now. Oh, okay, that's kind of.
I will say this about the Elven Cavalry being fight 4, nice, defense 12, good, activation 3, fantastic, but something about the human heavy cavalry coming in at defense 13
Yes.
is just amazing.
13 is
I would take
glorious.
the extra defense over that extra fight anytime.
Yeah. Especially because you can lose 2 and still be... You have attrition 2 and still be an effectively full unit.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you make those morale tests. That's the one scary part about those
That
human
is.
heavy cavalry.
You didn't have to worry about that tonight.
No, not tonight. But I mean, there'll be plenty of games where I won't be able to activate the cavalry at all. And they'll just get decimated.
Yeah.
And,
As Chris said after round 1, rolling 7s is easy, and he wasn't lying. Alright guys, thanks for sticking with us. Next time we play some Oathmark, hopefully we'll do a full battle report. I just wasn't, maybe next time. Hope you enjoyed this one. It's some of the only Oathmark content out there. Some of the other Oathmark YouTube content creators, get on the ball. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Alright, appreciate you.
They know they can't compete. That's about it.
Who specifically are you talking about? Matt Biggs?
Yeah, there's no way Matt can compete.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Bye-bye, guys. You're probably wondering who the hell Matt Biggs is.
Kind of am.
Same here.
Isn't that the guy that does Oathwire?